Good evening, dear listeners. As you settle into your favorite nook and allow the gentle embrace of night to wrap around you, I invite you to take a deep breath. Inhale the calm that surrounds you, and exhale the worries of the day. Tonight, we embark on a serene journey through time, exploring the often overlooked yet fascinating world of medieval tapestry repair protocols and the delicate standards of yarn color matching that were so vital to artisans of the past. Imagine, if you will, the soft flicker of candlelight illuminating a humble workshop, where skilled hands painstakingly mend intricate tapestries, each thread a whisper of history. The softly woven fabrics hold stories of valor, everyday life, and the vibrant hues of nature, all brought together through the meticulous work of dedicated craftsmen. There is a soothing rhythm to this labor, a comforting monotony that invites us to slow down and appreciate the artistry and patience involved in preserving these magnificent works. In our exploration tonight, we will delve into the techniques employed by medieval artisans to repair these treasured tapestries. We will discover the tools they used, the materials they preferred, and the thoughtful processes they followed, which were often steeped in tradition and passed down through generations. You will learn how a simple needle and some carefully selected threads could breathe new life into a piece of history, ensuring that its beauty would endure for years to come. But our journey does not stop there. The art of tapestry repair is intricately linked to the science of color matching. We will uncover the fascinating standards that govern the selection of yarn colors, ensuring that each repair was not only functional but also harmonious with the original artwork. Picture the vibrant palette of natural dyes, derived from plants, insects, and minerals, creating a spectrum of colors that could enchant the eye and evoke emotion. The meticulous artisans knew that the right shade could transform a simple repair into a seamless continuation of the tapestry's tale. As we drift further into this tranquil exploration, our minds will wander through the enchanting landscapes of medieval Europe, where each tapestry held not just decorative value but also social significance. You will hear about the communities that rallied around these artisans, the importance of color in conveying messages and emotions, and the ways in which these stunning works of art reflected the very essence of life in the Middle Ages. Throughout this narrative, I encourage you to allow yourself to relax, to unwind, and to surrender to the soothing cadence of the story as it unfolds. Let go of the day's stresses and embrace the calmness that comes with the knowledge that we are about to embark on a gentle exploration of a world that, while seemingly monotonous, is rich with depth and beauty. So, as we prepare to journey deeper into the world of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards, I invite you to find your own rhythm. Perhaps you'll close your eyes and envision the artisans at work, or maybe you'll let the soft sound of my voice guide you into a state of relaxation. Whatever it may be, know that your comfort is paramount, and this journey is designed to soothe your spirit and gently lull you into a peaceful state of mind. Now, without further ado, let us step back in time together, weaving through the threads of history, as we uncover the meticulous practices that define the art of tapestry repair and the exquisite standards of color matching that brought these works of art to life. Welcome to our serene exploration. Welcome to the world of medieval tapestry. The historical discourse surrounding the protocols for tapestry repair and the standards of yarn color matching in the medieval era reveals a remarkably intricate, albeit monotonous, narrative that encompasses various societal, artistic, and administrative dimensions. The origins of tapestry repair can be traced back to the early medieval period in Europe, particularly in regions that became prominent centers for textile production, such as France and the Low Countries. The earliest documented instance of tapestry repair protocols can be identified in the year 1130 AD, in the city of Arras, France. This city was renowned for its high-quality tapestries, which were often commissioned by the nobility for decorative and functional purposes. The tapestries produced in Arras exhibited intricate designs and vibrant colors, necessitating meticulous care and maintenance. Notably, historical records from the Abbey of St. Vaast in Arras, maintained by Abbot Anselm of Canterbury, outline the initial standards for tapestry repair. These records indicate a systematic approach to the identification of damages, which were categorized into three primary types: fraying, tearing, and fading. In 1190 AD, a significant advancement in tapestry repair protocols occurred when the Guild of Tapestry Artisans was established in the city of Ghent. The Guild, comprising master weavers and repair specialists, instituted formal regulations regarding the repair process. These regulations specified the employment of specific stitches, such as the back stitch and couching, to ensure that repaired areas would blend seamlessly with the original woven fabric. An esteemed member of this guild, Master Weverus, is noted for his treatise on tapestry repair, which included detailed illustrations of various stitching techniques and the appropriate application of color matching standards. The architectural context of tapestry repair workshops during this period warrants examination. Typically, these workshops were situated adjacent to the residences of affluent patrons, often within stone buildings characterized by arched doorways and large windows that allowed ample natural light. The interiors were furnished with long wooden tables where artisans could lay out tapestries for inspection and repair. The workshops also contained shelves stocked with an array of yarns and tools, including scissors, needles, and magnifying glasses, which were essential for the meticulous nature of the repair work. The administrative procedures surrounding tapestry repair were governed by several layers of oversight. Each repair workshop operated under a master artisan who was responsible for maintaining quality control and ensuring adherence to the established protocols. In 1265 AD, the city of Bruges enacted a set of ordinances that mandated the appointment of a guild inspector, whose duties included verifying that all repairs met the guild standards for both technique and color. The inspector's role was pivotal. Any deviation from the prescribed standards could result in fines or the revocation of the artisan's guild membership. Daily routines within these tapestry repair workshops were marked by a structured approach to both the repair and maintenance of tapestries. Artisans typically commenced their workday at dawn, as indicated by records from the Guild of Tapestry Artisans in 1290 AD. After a communal breakfast, artisans would gather for a brief meeting to discuss the day's repair tasks. The inspection of incoming tapestries often occurred in the morning, where artisans would assess the extent of damage and determine the appropriate repair techniques. During this time, a color matching protocol was established, which became increasingly critical as the demand for visually cohesive repairs grew. The guild mandated that artisans maintain a color ledger, a comprehensive catalog detailing the dye sources and color pigments used in their work. This ledger served as a reference for matching yarn colors to the original tapestry. In 1320 AD, a prominent dyer named Berenger the colorist published a treatise on dyes, which included recipes for producing specific colors, thereby influencing the standards of yarn color matching within the guild. By the late 14th century, with the proliferation of tapestry production across Europe, the intricacies of repair protocols became more pronounced. The city of Paris emerged as a hub for tapestry artisans, and in 1385 AD, a royal decree was issued by King Charles VI that mandated all tapestry repairs conducted for the crown's collection to adhere to standardized protocols. This decree emphasized the importance of preserving the historical integrity of the tapestries, thus necessitating the employment of artisans who were well versed in the guild's regulations. The architectural evolution of tapestry workshops during this period also mirrored the increasing complexity of repair protocols. Workshops began to incorporate specialized areas dedicated to dyeing and yarn storage. Buildings were often constructed with high ceilings, allowing for the hanging of large tapestries, which facilitated easier access for repairs. The layout of these workshops was meticulously planned, with distinct sections for different tasks: a dyeing area, a weaving space, and a repair zone, each separated by wooden partitions to minimize cross-contamination of materials. As the 15th century approached, the protocols surrounding tapestry repair and color matching began to evolve in response to changing artistic tastes and advancements in dye technology. The introduction of synthetic dyes in the late 15th century led to a re-evaluation of color matching standards. Artisans faced new challenges in maintaining color consistency, as synthetic dyes produced a broader spectrum of colors but often lacked the light fastness of their natural counterparts. In an effort to address these concerns, the Guild of Tapestry Artisans convened in 1467 AD to discuss updated standards for color matching, resulting in the formulation of a comprehensive color matching guide that delineated the acceptable variations in yarn hues. The administrative structure of tapestry repair workshops further expanded during this period. The role of the guild inspector was formalized, with inspectors required to undergo training in both repair techniques and color matching standards. This initiative was largely spearheaded by a notable figure, Inspector Pierre du Tissage, who advocated for rigorous oversight to ensure the preservation of the artistic heritage encapsulated in the tapestries. His efforts culminated in the 1485 publication of The Inspector's Manual, a detailed guide that outlined the inspector's responsibilities and the criteria for evaluating repair quality. The daily routines of artisans continued to reflect the evolving nature of tapestry repair. Artisans were now expected to engage in ongoing education regarding new materials and techniques. Workshops often hosted weekly seminars where artisans shared insights on dyeing processes and repair methodologies. This collaborative atmosphere fostered a culture of continuous improvement, though it was often accompanied by lengthy discussions on the merits of various stitching techniques and color matching strategies. By the dawn of the 16th century, the intricate tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards had become well established, yet the monotony of their application remained a defining characteristic. While artisans took pride in their meticulous work, the repetitive nature of the tasks involved in tapestry repair often led to a sense of ennui. The Guild of Tapestry Artisans, now firmly entrenched in the socio-economic fabric of medieval society, continued to uphold the established standards while adapting to the subtle shifts in artistic trends and consumer demands. In conclusion, the historical narrative surrounding the tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards from the medieval era to the early Renaissance illustrates a consistent adherence to regulatory frameworks and administrative oversight. The intricacies of repair techniques, color matching standards, and the architectural context of workshops contribute to an understanding of the cultural significance of tapestry repair in medieval Europe. As the industry evolved, so too did the procedures and standards that governed it, reflecting the broader societal trends while remaining grounded in the enduring principles of craftsmanship and quality. The construction methods employed in medieval tapestry repair were as varied as the tapestries themselves, yet they adhered to a set of standardized protocols that were meticulously documented. The base fabric, typically woven from linen or wool, constituted the foundational layer upon which repairs were executed. The choice of linen or wool was primarily influenced by the intended use of the tapestry. For instance, ecclesiastical tapestries often utilized finer linen to convey a sense of purity and sanctity, while domestic tapestries were frequently constructed from coarser wool to endure the rigors of everyday life. During the late 14th century, specifically in 1382, the introduction of the double weave technique revolutionized the structural integrity of tapestry repairs. This method involved weaving two layers of fabric simultaneously, creating a more robust support for the damaged areas. The double weave not only enhanced durability but also allowed for more intricate patterns to be replicated, thereby preserving the artistic integrity of the original tapestry. The materials used for repairs included a variety of threads, which were meticulously selected to ensure compatibility with the existing color palette. The color matching standards established by the Guild of Tapestry Artisans in the early 15th century, particularly around 1420, stipulated that all threads used in repairs must fall within a tolerance range of 5% deviation in hue. This was achieved through a standardized color chart, which was developed and updated biannually. The chart specified measurements in units of the Munsell color system, which, while not formally established until the early 20th century, can be retrospectively applied to understand the methodologies of color differentiation employed by artisans of the time. Maintenance procedures for medieval tapestries were equally systematic. The first recorded guidelines for the maintenance of tapestry artworks appeared in the Codex of Tapestry Care, published in 1455. This document detailed the steps required for the proper handling, cleaning, and storage of tapestries. It was recommended that tapestries be cleaned using a gentle solution of water and soap derived from natural sources, such as olive oil, administered with a soft cloth. This procedure was to be performed no more than once every 5 years to avoid deterioration of the fibers. Furthermore, the Codex dictated that tapestries be stored in a cool, dry environment, suspended from wooden rods to prevent creasing. Tapestries were often rolled rather than folded, as folding could lead to permanent creases and potential damage to the weave. It was also advised that tapestries be checked biannually for signs of moth damage or color fading, with records kept of any findings and subsequent actions taken. The financial records pertaining to tapestry repair and maintenance were meticulously maintained by the Guild of Tapestry Artisans. The ledgers from 1473 to 1490 provide a comprehensive overview of the associated costs. For instance, the average cost for a simple repair was recorded at approximately 1.5 deniers per square inch, accounting for both labor and materials. More complex repairs, particularly those requiring intricate color matching or extensive reweaving, could cost upwards of 5 deniers per square inch. An important financial consideration was the allocation of resources for the dyeing of yarn, which was a critical component of the color matching process. The costs associated with dyeing were recorded separately and averaged around 3 deniers per ounce of dye, with additional costs for mordants and other chemical agents. The ledger also noted the fluctuation in prices based on seasonal availability of natural dyes, with certain colors, such as indigo and cochineal, experiencing price surges during periods of scarcity. Personnel involved in the tapestry repair industry were delineated by specific job descriptions that outlined their responsibilities and required skills. The primary roles included the master tapestry artisan, who oversaw all repairs and maintained quality control, and the journeyman, who executed the repairs under the master's guidance. Apprentices were also common, typically starting their training at the age of 12 and undergoing a rigorous 7-year program. Records from the guild indicate that the master artisan earned an annual salary of approximately 30 florins, while journeymen earned around 15 florins per annum. Apprentices, on the other hand, were generally compensated with room and board, with the expectation that they would contribute to the workshop's output as part of their training. Job descriptions emphasize the importance of attention to detail, particularly in the areas of color matching and stitch consistency, which were deemed critical to the preservation of the tapestry's aesthetic qualities. The technical specifications for tapestry repairs were defined by a set of guidelines that included the recommended stitch types and tension levels. The most common stitch employed was the gobelin stitch, characterized by its diagonal orientation, which allowed for a more seamless integration of new threads with the existing weave. The stitch length was standardized at 3 mm, with a tension specification that dictated a tautness sufficient to maintain the integrity of the repair without distorting the original fabric. In cases where larger areas needed to be repaired, artisans were instructed to employ the couching stitch, which involved laying down a thread and securing it with smaller stitches at regular intervals. This technique was particularly effective for reinforcing weak areas and was recommended for use on tapestries that underwent frequent handling or display. In conclusion, the history of tapestry repair protocols during the medieval period was characterized by a commitment to craftsmanship, supported by systematic methodologies and rigorous standards. The interplay of construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel roles, and technical specifications formed a cohesive framework that ensured the preservation of these intricate works of art. The continued evolution of these practices reflected not only the advancements within the tapestry industry but also the broader socio-economic trends of the time, ultimately contributing to the rich legacy of medieval craftsmanship that persists to this day. The construction methods employed in medieval tapestry repair were as varied as the tapestries themselves, yet they adhered to a set of standardized protocols that were meticulously documented. The base fabric, typically woven from linen or wool, constituted the foundational layer upon which repairs were executed. The choice of linen or wool was primarily influenced by the intended use of the tapestry. For instance, ecclesiastical tapestries often utilized finer linen to convey a sense of purity and reverence, especially in significant religious settings. In contrast, more robust woolen tapestries were favored in domestic contexts where durability was paramount. The historical context of tapestry repair can be traced back to the 12th century, during the height of the medieval period in Europe, when tapestries became prominent symbols of wealth and artistic expression. By the 14th century, the craft of tapestry weaving had evolved significantly, with centers of production established in regions such as Flanders and France. The famous Arras tapestries, produced in the city of Arras, France, during this time, exemplified the intricate designs and vibrant colors that characterized the period. These tapestries often depicted biblical stories, allegorical scenes, and portraits of nobility, which necessitated a rigorous approach to their maintenance and repair. Repairing a tapestry was not merely a matter of patching holes, it was a complex process that required skill and artistry. The first step involved assessing the damage. Artisans would meticulously examine the tapestry for frays, tears, or discoloration, sometimes using magnifying glasses to inspect the threads closely. For example, a renowned tapestry from the late 15th century, known as the Unicorn Tapestries, showcased intricate scenes that required scrupulous attention during restoration. The conservators had to replicate the original weaving techniques to ensure that any repairs blended seamlessly with the existing artwork. Once the assessment was complete, artisans prepared to repair the tapestry using a technique known as couching, which involved sewing down new threads onto the tapestry without removing the original fabric. This technique was particularly useful for damaged areas that required reinforcement. Tapestry repair artisans often used a variety of stitches, such as the satin stitch or the split stitch, adapting their methods to match the original craftsmanship. For instance, during the restoration of the Lady and the Unicorn series in the late 19th century, conservators employed the split stitch to replicate the original texture of the weave, ensuring that the repaired sections maintained the same aesthetic quality as the surrounding fabric. Measuring and selecting the appropriate thread for repairs was another critical component of the process. Traditionally, artisans used natural fibers, such as silk or wool, dyed with plant-based or mineral dyes to match the original colors as closely as possible. For example, the vibrant reds and blues often found in medieval tapestries were achieved using madder root and woad, respectively. The importance of color matching cannot be overstated. A mismatch could easily detract from the overall visual harmony of the piece. In some cases, artisans would conduct color tests on scrap fabric before committing to the final repair. In terms of historical examples, one notable case is the restoration of the Bayeux Tapestry in the 19th century. This 11th century masterpiece, depicting the Norman conquest of England, had suffered from centuries of wear and damage. The restoration team faced the challenge of preserving its intricate embroidery while also ensuring the longevity of the tapestry. They implemented a combination of couching and stitching techniques to mend frayed edges and tiers, carefully documenting their methods to inform future restorations. This meticulous approach not only preserved the tapestry but also contributed to the understanding of medieval textile techniques. The role of documentation in tapestry repair also cannot be overlooked. Throughout history, many artisans maintain detailed records of their repairs, including the materials used, the techniques employed, and the time spent on each project. This practice not only served as a guide for future repairs but also as a testament to the craftsmanship involved in the art of tapestry making. In the late 17th century, a French tapestry workshop in Paris documented their repair processes extensively, influencing generations of weavers and conservators in their methods. In summary, the methods employed in medieval tapestry repair were as rich and varied as the tapestries themselves. From the careful selection of fabrics to the intricate stitching techniques, each aspect of the repair process was steeped in tradition and artistry. The historical context of tapestry production and repair reflects a broader narrative of craftsmanship and cultural expression, highlighting the enduring value of these textile masterpieces. As we continue to study and restore these works of art, we honor the skill and dedication of those who came before us, ensuring that their legacy endures for future generations to appreciate. The construction methods employed in the creation of medieval tapestries are of paramount importance to understanding the subsequent repair protocols that evolved over time. Tapestries were predominantly woven on vertical looms, with the earliest examples dating back to the late 12th century. The most common loom used was the high-warp loom, which allowed for the intricate designs characteristic of medieval tapestries. These looms required a substantial framework, typically made from oak or ash, and could measure anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 meters in height. The width of these looms could vary significantly, ranging from 1.5 meters to as wide as 6 meters, depending on the tapestry's intended size. The materials utilized in the creation of these textiles were primarily wool, silk, and, to a lesser extent, linen. Wool, sourced from various breeds of sheep, was favored for its durability and ease of dyeing. The process of dyeing wool involved the use of natural dyes derived from plants, minerals, and insects. Historical records indicate that madder root, Rubia tinctorum, was commonly used to achieve shades of red, while woad, Isatis tinctoria, provided a blue hue. In some instances, the use of cochineal, introduced in the late 15th century, allowed for a more vibrant and consistent red, although this was an expensive option. In terms of maintenance procedures, it was not uncommon for medieval tapestries to require regular cleaning and repair. The cleaning process typically involved gentle brushing with a soft bristle brush to remove dust and debris. In instances of significant soiling, a damp cloth might be employed, although extreme caution was advised to avoid water damage. Documentation from the early 14th century suggests that tapestries were to be taken down every 5 years for inspection and maintenance. This process was meticulously recorded in financial ledgers, with entries detailing the costs associated with cleaning and minor repairs. Repairing a tapestry was a labor-intensive process that necessitated a high degree of skill. The first step involved assessing the extent of the damage, which could range from minor fraying to substantial tears. For small damages, the technique of darning was employed, wherein a needle and thread were used to weave new threads into the existing fabric. This restoration technique could take anywhere from a few hours to several days, depending on the complexity of the design and the extent of the damage. For more extensive repairs, a process known as reweaving was employed. This involved the careful selection of matching yarns, a task that required a deep understanding of color theory and weaving techniques. Yarn color matching standards were established to ensure that repairs would not detract from the overall visual integrity of the tapestry. The specific shade of yarn was often documented with codes indicating dye lot numbers and color references. The matching process could involve the use of color charts, which were carefully maintained by each workshop. Financial records from the period provide insight into the costs associated with tapestry maintenance. A detailed ledger from the late 15th century reveals that the cost of labor for tapestry repair ranged from 2 to 5 pence per day, with skilled artisans commanding higher wages. Additionally, the cost of materials, such as replacement yarns, could vary significantly. For instance, a single skein of high-quality wool dyed with natural pigments could cost between 1 and 3 pence, depending on the rarity of the dye used. As a result, the total cost of repairing a tapestry could easily exceed 10 shillings, a substantial sum at the time. Personnel involved in tapestry repair included weavers, dyers, and, in some cases, a master craftsman who oversaw the entire process. Weavers were responsible for the actual repair work, while dyers would prepare the requisite yarns to match the original tapestry. A typical workshop might employ between 3 to 10 individuals, with each person assigned specific tasks based on their skill level. Job descriptions were often quite rigid, with apprentices spending several years learning the nuances of the craft before being promoted to the status of journeyman. The technical specifications of tapestry repair were codified in several treatises during the late medieval period. A notable example is The Art of Tapestry Repair, attributed to a master weaver in the early 16th century, which outlines detailed procedures for repairing various types of damage. The text specifies that all repairs should match the original weave structure, typically a plain weave or a twill weave, depending on the design. The document also stipulates that the repair yarn should be spun to a similar thickness as the original yarn, typically ranging from 25 to 30 microns in diameter. Moreover, the treatise emphasizes the importance of maintaining the original tension of the tapestry during the repair process. This was achieved by using weights to ensure that the repaired section did not sag or distort the overall appearance of the tapestry. The weights, often made of lead, were typically suspended from the loom and would exert a consistent force on the repaired area. This technical specification was crucial for maintaining the aesthetic integrity of the piece. In summary, the construction methods and materials utilized in medieval tapestry creation laid the foundation for the meticulous maintenance and repair protocols developed over the centuries. The financial records illuminate the costs associated with these processes, while the detailed personnel descriptions highlight the specialized skills required for effective repair work. The technical specifications outlined in contemporary treatises further codified the standards of craftsmanship that are still revered today. The legacy of these practices continues to influence modern tapestry restoration, ensuring that the art form endures in its most authentic form. The historical documentation surrounding these practices provides a window into the past, revealing the care and dedication that characterized the world of medieval tapestry repair. As we continue to delve into the minutiae of this field, we uncover not only the techniques and standards of the time but also a profound appreciation for the artisans whose labor has allowed these works of art to survive through the ages. The construction methods employed in the creation of medieval tapestries are of paramount importance to understanding the subsequent repair protocols that evolved over time. Tapestries were predominantly woven on vertical looms, with the earliest examples dating back to the late 12th century. The most common loom used was the high warp loom, which allowed for the intricate designs characteristic of medieval tapestries. These looms required a substantial framework, typically made from oak or ash, and were often elaborate in their construction to support the weight of the woven fabric. High warp looms were particularly advantageous for the weaving process, as they allowed the weaver to work from the top down, making it easier to create detailed images with greater complexity. The height of these looms could reach up to several meters, accommodating long pieces of fabric that could be several meters wide. Weavers would set up their looms in dedicated workshops, which often had large windows to provide ample natural light, an essential factor given the intricate nature of the work. One of the earliest and most notable examples of medieval tapestry weaving can be traced to the famous Bayeux tapestry, which was created in the late 11th century, circa 1070 to 1080. Stretching nearly 70 meters long, this embroidered work depicts the events leading up to the Norman conquest of England. Although the Bayeux tapestry is technically an embroidery rather than a woven tapestry, it serves as a historical touchstone for understanding the artistic and narrative traditions that informed later tapestry production. The materials used in tapestry weaving were also critically important. Wool was the primary fiber employed, sourced from local sheep breeds across Europe. The quality of the wool varied significantly, influenced by factors such as the age of the sheep and the season in which the fleece was sheared. Fine wools, which were softer and had a better dye uptake, were preferred for creating the opulent tapestries that adorned the homes of nobility and churches. In contrast, coarser wools were often used for everyday textiles. In addition to wool, silk was sometimes incorporated into the tapestries to add richness and depth to the colors, as well as to create a luxurious texture. The dyes used were derived from natural sources, including plants, insects, and minerals. The process of dyeing was labor-intensive and required significant expertise. For instance, the purple dye made from the murex snail was so rare and costly that it became a symbol of royal status. As tapestries aged, they became susceptible to wear and tear, necessitating specific repair protocols. Damage could result from various factors including sunlight exposure, humidity, and physical abrasion. By the late medieval period, 14th to 15th centuries, the practice of tapestry repair became increasingly formalized. The repair process typically involved several key steps: assessment of the damage, selection of appropriate materials for the repair, and the actual weaving or stitching of the damaged areas. Case studies from the late 15th century illustrate these repair techniques. For example, the famous Lady and the Unicorn tapestries, woven in Flanders around 1500, exhibit signs of extensive repair work that was typically done by skilled artisans known as tapestry restorers. These restorers would often match the original colors and weave patterns as closely as possible, sometimes employing a technique known as reweaving, which involved using new threads to replicate the original design. Moreover, historical documents from the period indicate that repair workshops were often affiliated with major tapestry production centers, such as Arras and Brussels. These workshops employed a range of skilled artisans, including weavers, dyers, and embroiderers. The Guild of St. Luke, for example, was established in many cities to oversee the training and standards of artists and craftsmen, including those involved in tapestry creation and repair. In terms of measurement, the size of tapestries varied significantly, depending on their intended use. Wall hangings could range from small decorative pieces of around 1 meter square to grand tapestries that measured upwards of 10 meters in length, designed to cover entire walls of castles and cathedrals. The scale of these works necessitated a collaborative approach to weaving, with multiple artisans often working together on a single piece. Historical context also plays a significant role in understanding the evolution of tapestry repair. As feudal society transitioned into the Renaissance, the importance of tapestries shifted from purely functional items to symbols of wealth and power. Tapestries became prized possessions, often handed down through generations, which further emphasized the need for diligent maintenance and repair practices to preserve their value and significance. In summary, the intricate construction methods of medieval tapestries not only highlight the artistry and skill involved in their creation but also set the stage for the evolution of repair protocols that were equally sophisticated. The historical significance of these textiles, combined with the challenges posed by aging and wear, led to the development of a rich tradition of conservation that continues to influence textile preservation practices today. The construction methods employed in medieval tapestry repair protocols can be traced through various regional practices, with notable distinctions between the weaving techniques of the Flemish and English schools. The Flemish tapestries, characterized by their intricate designs and rich color palettes, often utilized a technique known as weft-faced weaving. This method involved the use of a warp thread that was typically made from linen, which measured approximately 0.5 millimeters in diameter, allowing for a sturdy foundation upon which the weft threads, often made from wool, silk, or a combination thereof, could be densely packed to create the desired imagery. In contrast, English tapestries tended to favor a more straightforward, warp-faced technique. This involved using coarser wool as the primary fiber for both warp and weft, resulting in a more robust, albeit less intricate, textile. Reportedly, from 1450 to 1500, the average warp thread gauge ranged from 0.8 mm to 1.2 mm, reflecting the preference for durability over elaborate detail. The choice of yarn color was dictated not only by aesthetic considerations but also by the availability of natural dyes, with common colors being derived from plants, insects, and minerals. Maintenance procedures for these tapestries were formalized across various guilds and institutions, particularly during the late 15th century. Documentation indicates that a standard maintenance cycle involved a thorough inspection every 5 years, where each tapestry would be examined for signs of wear, fading, or damage. The inspection process was detailed, with conservators using a standardized checklist. For example, the 1492 Guild of Textile Conservators in Bruges outlined that each tapestry should be assessed for warp integrity, weft density, and color fastness, employing a 10-point scale for evaluation. In terms of cleaning, tapestries were often subjected to a gentle dusting with a soft bristled brush, while wet cleaning was rarely employed due to the potential for dye bleeding. From 1480 onward, a common maintenance solution comprised a mixture of distilled water and a small amount of white soap, applied using cotton swabs to localized areas of concern. The average cost for cleaning a single tapestry during this period ranged from 2 to 5 florins, depending on the tapestry's size and condition. Financial records concerning tapestry repair reveal a complex economic landscape. The financial ledgers from the Parisian tapestry workshop of the late 14th century indicate that the cost of raw materials was a significant factor in the overall expense of tapestry repair. For instance, in 1397, a shipment of wool dyed with madder was recorded at 12 sous per pound, while silk threads could command prices as high as 30 sous per pound. The labor costs were also meticulously documented. A skilled weaver's daily wage averaged between 3 to 4 sous. Moreover, expenditures on tools and equipment for tapestry repair were itemized in detail. A ledger from 1455 lists the purchase of specialized weaving tools, including fine scissors, priced at 1 sou each, and tapestry needles, which were noted to cost approximately 0.5 sous for a set of 5. Overhead costs for workshop maintenance, such as rent and utilities, were typically allocated at 10% of the total budget for tapestry repair projects, reflecting the Guild's commitment to maintaining operational efficiency. The personnel involved in tapestry repair were categorized into various roles, each with specific job descriptions. The primary conservator, often referred to as the master restorer, held a significant degree of authority and was expected to possess extensive knowledge of historical weaving techniques and dye chemistry. This individual was responsible for overseeing all repair projects, managing a team of apprentices who performed routine maintenance tasks. The apprentices, typically aged between 14 and 20 years, were trained in basic repair techniques, such as reweaving and color matching. An example of a detailed job description for an apprentice, dated 1475, indicates that these individuals were tasked with remedying minor frays in the weft threads, and applying mordants to enhance color fastness. Additionally, a specialized position known as the color matcher emerged in the 16th century, responsible for developing color palettes that adhered to the established standards of the Guild. These individuals would engage in meticulous color analysis and documentation, often utilizing a reference book known as the Codex of Color Standards, which contained samples of acceptable hues and dye compositions. Technical specifications for tapestry repair were rigorously documented, with the 1508 Codex of Tapestry Repair establishing a comprehensive set of guidelines. For instance, the document stipulated that any reweaving should maintain a minimum weft density of 8 threads per centimeter, ensuring that repairs would not disrupt the overall visual continuity of the tapestry. Additionally, the use of synthetic dyes was strictly prohibited. Only natural dyes derived from specified botanical sources, such as indigo for blue and weld for yellow, were deemed acceptable. The Codex also outlined the proper techniques for knotting and securing repaired threads, recommending the use of a slip knot, which allowed for ease of adjustment while maintaining tension. Measurements for the length of reweaving threads were standardized, requiring that each thread be at least 1.5 times the length of the area being repaired to ensure sufficient overlap and secure anchoring. In the realm of color matching, the Guild established a color matching system based on a series of numerical codes, allowing for precise replication of hues. For example, a deep red derived from cochineal was classified as C112, while a light green from fustic was assigned G207. This numerical system facilitated communication among artisans, ensuring that repairs adhered to the established visual lexicon of the respective tapestry. In conclusion, the historical account of medieval tapestry repair protocols reveals a sophisticated interplay of construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel roles, and technical specifications. Each component of this tradition was meticulously codified, reflecting the importance of textile preservation in the cultural and artistic heritage of the medieval period. The legacy of these practices continues to inform contemporary conservation efforts, underscoring the enduring significance of medieval tapestry repair in the broader narrative of textile history. The construction methods employed in medieval tapestry repair protocols can be traced through various regional practices, with notable distinctions between the weaving techniques of the Flemish and English schools. The Flemish tapestries, characterized by their intricate designs and rich color palettes, often utilized a technique known as weft-faced weaving. This method involved the use of a warped thread that was typically made from linen, which measured approximately 0.5 mm in diameter, allowing for a sturdy foundation upon which vibrant colors could be layered. The use of weft-faced weaving became particularly prominent during the late 14th century in the Low Countries, around 1380, when advancements in dyeing techniques allowed for a broader spectrum of colors to be incorporated into the tapestries. The Flemish masters, such as Jan van Eyck and later, the workshop of Peter de Panmaker, were known for creating tapestries that not only served decorative purposes but also conveyed complex narratives and allegorical meanings. For instance, the famous Adoration of the Mystic Lamb tapestry is a striking example of the intricate storytelling embedded within Flemish works, showcasing the skill and artistry that defined the era. In contrast, the English tapestry tradition, which gained prominence in the late 15th century, particularly in the workshops of Mortlake, employed a variety of techniques that leaned towards a more pictorial style. English tapestries often featured a higher degree of figural representation and were less focused on the elaborate backgrounds that characterized their Flemish counterparts. For example, the hunting tapestries, produced at Mortlake between 1550 and 1600, employed a combination of wool and silk in their wefts, providing a different texture and sheen compared to the predominantly woolen tapestries of the Flemish tradition. The warped threads in English tapestries were typically thicker, ranging from 0.6 to 0.8 mm, which resulted in a more robust finished product ideal for the English climate. The repair protocols for these tapestries, therefore, varied significantly between the regions. In Flemish tapestries, the repair process often involved a meticulous method known as couching, where damaged areas were reinforced with additional threads of similar color and texture. This technique could be traced back to records from the 15th century, where artisans documented their repair processes and the materials used, including the specific dyes and thread counts. For instance, the famous "The Lady and the Unicorn" series, woven around 1500, has undergone various repair efforts, showcasing the use of couching to preserve the original artistry while maintaining structural integrity. Furthermore, the historical context surrounding these repair processes is equally fascinating. During the late medieval period, tapestries were not merely decorative items, they were seen as a display of wealth and power. Wealthy patrons, including kings and nobles, often commissioned large-scale tapestries for their castles and manors, leading to a high demand for both creation and repair. The Psalter of Robert de Lisle, created around 1310, is one such example that highlights the significance of these textiles in medieval society. Repair workshops often operated in conjunction with tapestry production centers, allowing artisans to specialize in both weaving and restoration. For example, in the late 16th century, the Mortlake Tapestry Workshop, established by King Charles I, included skilled artisans who were proficient in both creating new tapestries and restoring old ones. The process of restoration involved not only the physical repair of the fabric but also the careful matching of dyes to ensure that any new materials used would blend seamlessly with the existing tapestry. In terms of measurements, the size of the tapestries themselves dictated the complexity of the repair. A typical Flemish tapestry could measure upwards of 3 by 4 meters, while English tapestries, particularly those from Mortlake, could reach dimensions of 5 by 7 meters. This scale necessitated a structured approach to repairs, often requiring several artisans to collaborate on larger pieces. They would first conduct a thorough assessment of the tapestry's condition, often documenting any areas of wear or damage with detailed sketches and notes. The tools employed in the repair processes also varied. Artisans used specialized needles, often larger than those used in regular sewing, to accommodate the thickness of the yarns. The use of a tapestry frame, which allowed for tension to be applied to the fabric during repairs, was crucial in ensuring that the final product retained its original shape and design. These frames could be quite large, often measuring up to 2 meters in height and 3 meters in width, allowing for the entire tapestry to be worked on without folding or creasing. Overall, the evolution of tapestry repair from the medieval period to the present day reflects not only the technological advancements in weaving and dyeing but also the cultural significance of these artworks throughout history. The careful preservation of these textiles continues to be a priority for museums and conservationists, ensuring that future generations can appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship that defined an era. In the study of medieval tapestry repair protocols, it is essential to examine the construction methods and materials employed during the initial creation of these textiles. Tapestries from the 14th to 16th centuries were primarily woven using a variety of threads, including wool, silk, and linen. Wool was particularly favored for its durability and availability, with some estimates indicating that up to 70% of all medieval tapestries utilized wool as the primary fiber. The wool was often dyed using natural dyes derived from plants and minerals, which presented both challenges and opportunities in terms of color matching during the repair process. The construction method employed a technique known as weft-faced weaving, where the weft threads were packed tightly together to create a dense fabric that would display intricate designs and imagery. The warp threads, typically made from linen, served as the structural foundation upon which the tapestry image was built. A common warp thread size was approximately 0.5 mm in diameter, while the weft threads varied from 0.3 mm to 0.8 mm, depending on the desired texture and effect. The maintenance of medieval tapestries is a multifaceted process that requires meticulous attention to detail. Regular maintenance procedures typically involved a schedule of cleaning, inspection, and repair. The cleaning process was often conducted with the utmost care, using soft brushes and minimal moisture to avoid damaging the delicate fibers. It is documented that from 1450 onwards, conservators employed a technique known as dry cleaning, which involved the use of a powdered substance made from crushed starch to absorb dirt and grime without the application of water. Inspection protocols included visual assessments conducted biannually, during which conservators would examine the tapestries for signs of wear such as fraying edges or color fading. The importance of maintaining color fidelity became increasingly critical in the early 16th century as historical accounts indicate that the fading of dyes could lead to significant alterations in the original design. Repair procedures, therefore, became standardized, with guidelines established in 1525 that specified the use of matching yarns and techniques to ensure the integrity of the original artwork. Financial records from the period reveal that the costs associated with tapestry maintenance were considerable. A detailed ledger from the year 1532 indicates that expenses for yarn procurement alone accounted for approximately 45% of the total maintenance budget. The average cost of high-quality wool yarn was approximately 1 shilling per ounce, while silk yarn could command prices upwards of 3 shillings per ounce. Additional costs included labor, with artisans typically charging about 6 pence for an hour of skilled weaving or repair work. Conservators often had to balance the need for high-quality materials with budget constraints, which, as seen in the financial documentation from the late 1500s, could lead to compromises in repair quality. Personnel involved in the tapestry repair process included a diverse array of skilled laborers, each with specific job descriptions. The chief conservator was responsible for overseeing the entire repair operation and ensuring adherence to established protocols. This individual typically held a degree of training in textile conservation, often acquired through apprenticeships that could last up to 5 years. Their duties included the coordination of repair schedules, quality control of materials, and the training of junior staff. Junior conservators, often referred to as tapestry technicians, were tasked with the hands-on aspects of repair work. Their responsibilities included stitching and color matching, a process that required an acute understanding of historical dye techniques and a keen eye for detail. It was common for these technicians to specialize in specific types of repair, such as patching or reweaving, and they frequently worked under the supervision of the chief conservator. In addition to conservators, financial clerks were essential for the tracking of expenses related to tapestry maintenance. These clerks maintained detailed records of all purchases, labor costs, and any grants or donations received for preservation efforts. The meticulous nature of this record-keeping is evidenced by a 1587 ledger that lists over 200 transactions related to the maintenance of a single tapestry collection. Each entry included the date, type of work performed, and corresponding costs, highlighting the extensive administrative efforts required to support these preservation initiatives. The technical specifications of tapestry repairs were often documented in various guidelines developed throughout the medieval period. By 1460, a set of standards was established that outlined acceptable methods for color matching and yarn selection. For instance, it was mandated that any repairs required the use of yarn dyed within a tolerance of 10% of the original color's hue. This precision was achieved through the use of color matching tools, such as the color wheel, which allowed conservators to visually compare and select appropriate shades that would blend seamlessly with existing threads. In terms of materials, repairs often called for the use of specific yarn types that matched the original textiles in both texture and durability. For example, a repair on a tapestry from the 15th century might necessitate the use of carded wool, which had a distinct loftiness compared to combed wool, allowing for a closer match to the original fabric's density. Additionally, the use of natural dyes was emphasized, as synthetic dyes were not introduced until the 19th century. This reliance on traditional dyeing methods often resulted in lengthy waiting periods for yarn to be produced, especially as dyeing processes could take several days. Furthermore, the stitching techniques employed during repairs were rigorously defined. Common methods included the couching stitch, where a thicker thread was laid on the surface of the tapestry and secured with smaller stitches, and the darning stitch, which involved weaving new threads into the existing fabric to reinforce weak areas. The specifications for these stitches often included measurements for their spacing and length, with an average couching stitch measuring approximately 5 mm in length and spaced 3 mm apart to ensure a uniform appearance. In conclusion, the history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards is marked by a complex interplay of materials, methods, and meticulous administrative practices. The careful preservation of these textiles not only reflects the artistic achievements of the era but also the significant effort invested in maintaining their integrity for future generations. As the study of these procedures continues, it becomes increasingly evident that each element, from construction techniques to financial oversight, plays a vital role in the broader narrative of textile conservation. The commitment to preserving these artifacts remains a testament to the enduring legacy of medieval artistry and craftsmanship. The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards, an exhaustive exploration. Regional variations and comparisons. As we delve deeper into the monotonous yet intricate history of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards, it becomes apparent that regional variations played a pivotal role in shaping the practices observed across medieval Europe. The geographical expanse of the continent resulted in a diverse tapestry of cultural influences, which, in turn, manifested in the techniques and materials employed in tapestry repair. In the northern regions, particularly Scandinavia, the harsh climatic conditions necessitated the use of warmer, thicker yarns, often derived from locally sourced sheep breeds. The wool from these sheep was typically carded and spun into thicker threads, which not only provided durability but also enhanced the visual texture of the repaired pieces. However, the color palette available to these artisans was often limited due to the scarcity of natural dye sources. This led to a predominant use of earthy tones, which, while aesthetically pleasing in their own right, posed challenges when it came to matching the vibrant colors of tapestries originally crafted in southern regions, where the abundance of flora allowed for a rich array of dyes. Conversely, in the Mediterranean regions, particularly in cities like Florence and Venice, tapestry repair practices were influenced by the flourishing trade routes that facilitated the importation of exotic dyes and luxurious materials. Here, artisans employed an extensive range of vibrant colors, often derived from cochineal and indigo, allowing for a more diverse color matching protocol. The Florentine guilds, known for their meticulous standards, established intricate color matching charts. These charts included not only the dye source but also the specific mordants used, as variations in mordanting could lead to significant differences in the final hue. Moreover, the southern regions enjoyed the luxury of more advanced weaving techniques, which were often reflected in the complexity of their tapestry repairs. Artisans in these areas developed specialized tools, such as the color wheel, a rudimentary device that helped to assess and match hues more accurately. The presence of such tools in the Mediterranean contrasted sharply with the more rudimentary approaches observed in the northern regions, highlighting a significant divergence in both methodology and outcome across different locales. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards can be traced through a series of distinct periods that reflect broader socio-political and economic trends. In the early medieval period, the lack of centralized authority led to a somewhat haphazard approach to repair protocols. Tapestry repair was often conducted on an ad hoc basis, with local artisans relying on inherited techniques passed down through generations. This period was characterized by a lack of standardized practices, where the quality of repairs largely depended on the individual skills of the craftsmen involved. As we transitioned into the High Medieval period, we observe a notable shift in the organization of tapestry repair practices. The rise of guilds marked a pivotal moment in standardization efforts. These guilds established comprehensive regulations governing the quality and techniques of tapestry repair. The formation of these guilds was often accompanied by the introduction of standardized color matching protocols, which were meticulously documented in guild registers. These records included detailed descriptions of dye sources, mordants, and even the specific weaving techniques employed, creating a repository of knowledge that would influence practices for centuries to come. The late medieval period saw the emergence of more formalized bureaucratic structures, where the monarchies of various regions began to impose regulations on textile production, including tapestry repair. The monarchs recognized the economic potential of the tapestry trade and sought to regulate it to ensure quality and consistency. This period marked the introduction of official inspections and certifications for tapestry repairs, with artisans required to submit their work to local authorities for approval. The ramifications of these bureaucratic measures were far-reaching, as they not only standardized practices but also elevated the status of tapestry repair artisans, who were now viewed as skilled professionals rather than mere laborers. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding tapestry repair and color matching became increasingly complex as various regional authorities sought to exert control over the industry. In France, for instance, the Edict of Tapestry issued in 1395 mandated that all tapestry repairs must adhere to a specific set of guidelines established by the Crown. This edict detailed the acceptable materials, techniques, and even the colors that could be utilized for repairs, aiming to protect the integrity of the national tapestry heritage. One particularly tedious aspect of these regulations was the requirement for artisans to keep detailed logs of their repairs. Each entry in these logs had to include the date of repair, the specific tapestry being worked on, the colors used, and the method of repair. The meticulous nature of this record-keeping was intended to ensure accountability and traceability. However, it often resulted in extensive bureaucratic red tape that could hinder the repair process. Artisans frequently lamented the time spent documenting their work rather than focusing on the craft itself, as they were required to maintain these logs in triplicate, a copy for the guild, one for local authorities, and a personal copy for their records. In addition to the guild regulations, various local laws emerged, often reflecting the unique cultural and economic contexts of different regions. In England, the Statute of Woven Goods enacted in 1455 stipulated that any tapestry repair conducted within city limits must be overseen by a master artisan. This law aimed to curtail the influx of untrained laborers who might compromise the quality of repairs. However, this regulation also sparked a considerable amount of debate among artisans, with many arguing that it created an unnecessary barrier to entry for emerging craftsmen. Supply chain and logistics. The supply chain and logistics of tapestry repair in the medieval period were fraught with challenges, primarily due to the limited transportation infrastructure and the regional nature of dye production. The journey of a single roll of yarn from its source to an artisan's workshop could be a protracted affair, often taking weeks or even months. Artisans frequently relied on local suppliers for their materials, leading to variations in quality and color consistency. The procurement of dye materials was particularly cumbersome. Natural dyes, sourced from plants, insects, or minerals, required significant preparation. For instance, the process of extracting color from woad, a common blue dye, involved multiple steps, including harvesting the leaves, fermenting them, and then processing them into a usable form. This labor-intensive process meant that artisans often had to plan their color matching strategies well in advance, taking into account the seasonal availability of dye plants. Additionally, long-distance trade routes played a crucial role in the tapestry repair supply chain. Artisans in Northern Europe often relied on imports from southern regions for high-quality dyes and specialty yarns. The logistics of transporting these materials were complex and often subject to the whims of weather and political instability. The infamous Dye Road, a network of trade routes connecting dye-producing regions, was notorious for its unpredictability, and artisans had to develop contingency plans in anticipation of potential delays. The arrival of new dye materials from the East, particularly following the Crusades, introduced an additional layer of complexity to the supply chain. Exotic dyes like safflower and madder became increasingly popular, necessitating adjustments in color matching standards to accommodate these vibrant hues. Furthermore, the growing demand for tapestries in the late medieval period spurred a surge in the establishment of dye workshops, creating a more robust supply chain that began to resemble modern industrial practices, albeit on a much smaller scale. Record-keeping methods. Record-keeping methods employed by tapestry artisans in the medieval period reflected the broader administrative practices of the time. The reliance on documentation was essential not only for adhering to guild regulations but also for maintaining the integrity of the craftsmanship. Artisans often utilized various forms of recording methods, ranging from simple ledgers to detailed color matching charts. One of the most common methods involved the use of cloth swatches, which artisans would attach to their logs alongside detailed annotations. These swatches provided a visual reference that was invaluable for color matching during repairs. However, the preservation of these swatches posed its own challenges, as the natural dyes used could fade over time, necessitating careful storage practices. Some artisans even resorted to creating color books, which compiled their swatches and detailed descriptions of the dye sources, mordants, and techniques used. These books became cherished resources for apprentices, who could study the techniques and color standards established by their predecessors. The introduction of printing technology in the late medieval period began to influence record-keeping as well. The advent of printed materials allowed for the distribution of standardized color matching guides and repair protocols, which could be disseminated across regions. This development marked a significant shift in the accessibility of information, enabling artisans from different locales to adopt best practices and learn from one another. In conclusion, the history of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards is a deeply layered narrative, woven with regional variations, evolving methodologies, bureaucratic regulations, intricate supply chains, and meticulous record-keeping practices. The tedium of these topics belies their significance in understanding the broader cultural and economic contexts of medieval Europe. While it may seem a monotonous endeavor to explore the minutiae of tapestry repair, it is within these very details that we uncover the rich tapestry of human endeavor and creativity, a reflection of a society deeply invested in the preservation of its artistic heritage. The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards has traversed the intricate pathways of craftsmanship, cultural exchange, and bureaucratic regulation. This section seeks to elucidate various themes inherent to the tapestry repair industry, particularly focusing on regional variations and comparisons, evolution through time, the bureaucratic regulations and laws governing practices, the complexities of supply chain logistics, and the methods of record-keeping that were employed by artisans and guilds alike. #Regional variations and comparisons. Medieval tapestry repair protocols were not monolithic, rather, they exhibited significant regional variations that reflected local customs, materials availability, and aesthetic sensibilities. For instance, in the northern regions of France, where the climate was less conducive to the vibrant hues favored in southern tapestries, artisans often utilized a palette dominated by earthy tones, browns, greens, and muted blues. In contrast, the tapestries produced in the warmer climates of Italy often showcased a more vivid array of colors, necessitating distinct color matching standards that took into account the fading properties of natural dyes under the intense sunlight. Moreover, in England, the practice of tapestry repair was heavily influenced by the burgeoning use of wool from local sheep breeds, which afforded a different texture and durability compared to the silk and linen fibers prevalent in the Mediterranean regions. The repairs performed on English tapestries often employed a technique known as underlay, wherein a foundational layer of weaving was laid beneath visible repairs, offering both stability and an opportunity to blend colors that harmonized with the existing tapestry. Conversely, in the region of Flanders, which became renowned for its rich tapestry heritage, the repair protocols reflected the guild's stringent adherence to color matching standards. The guilds of Bruges and Ghent established comprehensive manuals detailing the specific hues and blends that must be utilized when undertaking repairs. Such meticulous documentation ensured that even the most faded threads could be revived in a manner that maintained the tapestry's original integrity and aesthetic. The regional characteristics of tapestry repair were not merely aesthetic but also practical, as the availability of dyes and fibers dictated the extent to which artisans could innovate or adhere strictly to tradition. This led to a fascinating dichotomy between regions that embraced bold experimentation versus those that adhered closely to their ancestral techniques. #evolution over different time periods. The evolution of tapestry repair protocols throughout the medieval period can be segmented into several distinct phases, each reflecting broader societal changes. During the early medieval period, roughly from the 5th to the 10th centuries, tapestry repair was often a communal activity, frequently undertaken by members of a household or village. The techniques employed were rudimentary, relying on the simple reweaving of damaged areas with whatever materials were available. It was not uncommon for disparate fibers to be employed, leading to a lack of cohesion in color and texture. As we transitioned into the High Medieval period, 11th to 13th centuries, a burgeoning appreciation for tapestry as an art form began to emerge, particularly within the courts of Europe. This period saw the establishment of specialized guilds dedicated to weaving and repairing tapestries, which in turn prompted the development of more sophisticated repair techniques and standards. The introduction of dyeing methods that allowed for more consistent color production marked a significant advancement, leading to the establishment of color matching standards that would soon become a hallmark of reputable workshops. By the late medieval period, 14th to 15th centuries, the rise of trade routes and the emergence of a more interconnected Europe facilitated the exchange of ideas and materials. The tapestry repair protocols began to incorporate influences from distant regions, leading to a diversification of techniques and materials. Artisans began to document their repair processes, allowing for a more systematic approach to the craft. Workshops began employing trained individuals specifically for color matching, and by the end of the 15th century, it was common for a tapestry workshop to maintain a comprehensive color chart that outlined the various shades available, often derived from local plants and minerals. #bureaucratic regulations and laws. The tapestry repair industry did not exist in a vacuum, it was subject to the regulations and laws enacted by both local authorities and the broader guild systems. In the late medieval period, the guilds played a pivotal role in regulating practices, establishing standards of quality, and ensuring fair trade among artisans. Many guilds developed specific statutes that outlined acceptable practices related to tapestry repair, including detailed specifications on color matching. For example, the Guild of St. Luke in Bruges, one of the most powerful guilds of the time, implemented stringent codes that dictated the acceptable methods of repair and the types of materials that could be employed. These regulations were designed to protect the integrity of the tapestry trade and maintain the high standards for which Flemish textiles were renowned. Violations of these regulations could result in severe penalties, ranging from fines to expulsion from the guild. Furthermore, municipal authorities often enacted laws aimed at preserving the heritage of local arts. In 1425, the city of Ghent introduced regulations that mandated artisans to register their repair techniques with the local council, effectively creating a standardized approach to tapestry repair that would be taught to apprentices. This initiative was spurred by concerns over the influx of inferior tapestries from outside the region, which threatened the local economy and the reputation of established artisans. Such bureaucratic measures extended beyond local guilds and municipalities. The rise of centralized monarchies saw the establishment of royal commissions tasked with overseeing the quality and authenticity of tapestries. In France, King Louis IX famously issued decrees that required all tapestries commissioned for royal use to adhere to specific repair protocols, ensuring that only the finest craftsmanship adorned the palaces of the monarchy. #Supply chain and logistics. The tapestry repair industry was intricately linked to a complex supply chain that involved numerous stakeholders at various stages of production. The procurement of raw materials such as wool, silk, and dyes was often a laborious process, requiring artisans to establish relationships with dyers, spinners, and weavers. The logistical challenges faced by tapestry repair artisans were compounded by the fact that many of the finest materials were sourced from distant lands, silk from the east, wool from the English countryside, and dyes derived from plants that may only have grown in specific regions. Trade routes that facilitated the movement of these materials were often fraught with difficulties, including varying tariffs, political turmoil, and the ever-present threat of theft. Artisans had to remain vigilant in their procurement efforts, often relying on trusted intermediaries to secure the best materials. The need for consistent quality in repairs meant that artisans developed networks of suppliers who could reliably provide the necessary fibers and dyes, fostering a sense of camaraderie among those engaged in the tapestry trade. Additionally, transportation logistics played a critical role in the tapestry repair industry. Tapestries were often large, unwieldy items that required careful handling during transit. Artisans developed specific packing methods to protect tapestries during transport, utilizing padded rolls and protective coverings to prevent damage from moisture and physical impact. These methods were especially important when tapestries were sent to distant clients or to royal courts, where the stakes of delivering an intact piece were exceedingly high. The organization of workshops also reflected the logistical demands of the tapestry repair industry. Many workshops employed apprentices and journeymen who specialized in various aspects of the repair process: color matching, weaving, and dyeing. This division of labor ensured that each component of the repair was executed with precision and care, reflecting the established standards of the guilds and the expectations of discerning patrons. #Record-keeping methods. In an era devoid of modern technology, the meticulous practice of record-keeping emerged as a vital component of the tapestry repair industry. Artisans and guilds employed various methods to document their processes, materials, and transactions. The simplest form of record-keeping involved the use of parchment and quill, where artisans would maintain logs of repairs undertaken, materials used, and color specifications. This practice not only served to track the progress of ongoing repairs but also acted as a reference for future projects, ensuring consistency in color matching and technique. Guilds, recognizing the importance of documentation, often established comprehensive archives that served to codify the standards of practice within their jurisdiction. These archives contained records of approved materials, repair techniques, and color palettes, which were made available to guild members as a form of training and guidance. The meticulous nature of these records was reflective of the guild's commitment to maintaining high standards of craftsmanship. In addition to written records, artisans often developed visual aids. Color swatches and dye samples were frequently catalogued, providing a tangible reference that helped in the matching process. These aids were sometimes housed in communal repositories within guild halls, allowing artisans to consult them as needed while working on repairs. The use of visual aids underscores the importance placed on color accuracy. Deviations could easily lead to a compromised repair, resulting in a tapestry that lacked visual harmony. The existence of these records and visual aids also had implications for the broader economic landscape of the tapestry trade. Artisans could readily reference past projects, establish pricing based on material costs, and negotiate contracts with clients. The ability to present a well-documented portfolio of past work was often a crucial factor in securing commissions, particularly from wealthy patrons or royal households. In summary, the monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards unfolds as a complex tapestry of regional differences, evolving practices, bureaucratic oversight, intricate supply chains, and diligent record-keeping. Each facet, while seemingly mundane, contributes to a rich understanding of how this art form flourished amidst the socio-economic currents of medieval society. It is a laborious study, but one that reveals the dedication and craft of those who contributed to the preservation of textile heritage through the ages. #The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. Part 8, Regional Variations and Comparisons. In the vast expanse of medieval Europe, tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards were not monolithic. They exhibited significant regional variations that reflected both local textile traditions and the socio-cultural milieu of respective regions. For instance, the Flemish tapestry weaving centers, such as Arras and Brussels, were renowned for their vibrant color palettes and complex iconographies, which necessitated rigorous repair protocols. The Flemish artisans developed a unique system of color matching that relied heavily on the use of natural dyes derived from local flora, leading to a more comprehensive understanding of color theory that was distinct from their counterparts in Italy. Conversely, in the Italian city-states, particularly Florence and Venice, the emphasis was placed on the use of gold and silver threads, which required different repair techniques. The Italian artisans, influenced by the Renaissance ideals of symmetry and proportion, often favored a more geometrically precise approach to tapestry repair. Their color-matching standards were heavily influenced by the burgeoning art scene, leading to innovative methods of achieving chiaroscuro effects that were not as prevalent in Flemish tapestries. The Iberian Peninsula provided yet another contrast, where the Moorish influence resulted in a distinctive style of tapestry that incorporated intricate geometric patterns and vibrant colors. The repair protocols in this region often involved the use of intricate knotting techniques that were less common in other parts of Europe. The artisans' focus on maintaining the integrity of these patterns led to the establishment of a unique set of guidelines for yarn color matching that emphasized unity and coherence within the overall design. Part 9. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards can be categorized into several distinct phases, each marked by significant technological advancements and shifts in artistic sensibilities. The early medieval period, circa 500–1000 CE, was characterized by a lack of standardized practices. Repairs were often ad hoc and executed by local artisans who relied on their personal expertise rather than established guidelines. The limited availability of materials during this time meant that repairs were often executed using whatever scraps were at hand, leading to a haphazard approach to color matching. The High Medieval period, circa 1000 to 1300 CE, marked a turning point as the demand for tapestries surged, particularly among the nobility. This era saw the emergence of guilds and formal training programs for tapestry repair artisans, which led to the development of more systematic procedures. Color matching standards became more refined, with artisans beginning to categorize their yarns based on hue, saturation, and luminosity. The introduction of new dyeing techniques, such as mordanting, allowed for a broader spectrum of colors, thereby necessitating a more meticulous approach to repair and restoration. By the late medieval period, circa 1300 to 1500 CE, the proliferation of trade routes facilitated the exchange of materials and techniques across Europe, further enriching the tapestry repair landscape. The establishment of bureaucratic frameworks, such as the license to practice tapestry repair issued by local authorities, ensured that artisans adhered to increasingly stringent standards. This period also witnessed the rise of written manuals and treatises on tapestry repair, which codified best practices and provided a reference for color matching. Part 10. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding tapestry repair and color matching in the medieval period was nuanced and multifaceted. Local authorities frequently imposed regulations aimed at maintaining the quality of textiles produced and repaired within their jurisdictions. For example, in the late 14th century, the city of Ghent implemented a series of ordinances that stipulated the qualifications required for tapestry repair artisans. These regulations mandated that practitioners undergo a minimum of 3 years of apprenticeship under a master artisan, ensuring that they acquired the necessary skills and knowledge to execute repairs competently. Moreover, the establishment of color matching standards became a matter of legal importance. Guilds, which functioned as both professional associations and regulatory bodies, often convened to draft comprehensive guidelines. These documents detailed the acceptable practices for yarn selection and color matching, stipulating that artisans must use only approved dyes and materials. Violation of these regulations could result in severe penalties, including fines or the revocation of one's guild membership. In addition to local laws, the Church played a significant role in regulating tapestry production and repair. Many tapestries were commissioned for ecclesiastical purposes, and the Church sought to uphold a standard of quality that reflected its values. This led to the promulgation of canon law that outlined acceptable practices for textile artisans, including mandates on the use of specific colors for liturgical tapestries. For instance, violet yarns were reserved for Advent, while white was designated for Easter. Part 11, Supply Chain and Logistics. The tapestry repair industry was intricately intertwined with the broader textile supply chain, which encompassed the entire process from raw material acquisition to finished product. The logistics of yarn procurement were particularly complex, given the reliance on both local and exotic materials for dyeing. Local sheep breeds, such as the merino, provided wool for many regions, while certain dyes, like indigo or cochineal, were imported from distant lands. Artisans often maintained relationships with specific dyers, who specialized in creating the vibrant hues necessary for tapestry restoration. This relationship was critical, as the consistency of dye lots could significantly affect color matching efforts. The supply chain also included merchants who dealt in raw wool and finished yarns, as well as traders who transported textiles between regions. The interconnectedness of these entities meant that disruptions in one area, such as a poor harvest or political conflict, could have ripple effects throughout the tapestry repair industry. In addition to material logistics, the movement of tapestry repair artisans also played a role in shaping the industry. Many artisans traveled between regions to share techniques and knowledge, often leading to the dissemination of best practices regarding repair and color matching. This phenomenon was particularly pronounced during times of trade fairs, where artisans gathered to showcase their work, exchange ideas, and acquire new materials. Part 12, Record-Keeping Methods. The meticulous nature of tapestry repair necessitated a robust system of record-keeping that varied across regions and periods. Artisans often maintained detailed ledgers that documented the materials used in repairs, including the type and color of yarn, the source of the dye, and the specific techniques employed. These records served multiple purposes. They provided a reference for future repairs, ensured accountability in material usage, and facilitated compliance with guild regulations. In many guilds, a centralized archive was established to preserve the knowledge and practices of tapestry repair artisans. These archives often contained manuals, repair protocols, and color matching guidelines, which were periodically updated to reflect changes in techniques and materials. The preservation of these documents was vital, as they served as the institutional memory of the Guild, ensuring that the skills and knowledge of previous generations were not lost. The methods of record-keeping themselves were varied, ranging from simple handwritten notes to elaborate manuscripts illuminated with intricate designs. Some artisans even employed a system of color swatches, meticulously glued into ledgers, to provide a visual reference for color matching. This practice not only enhanced the accuracy of repairs but also fostered a culture of documentation that valued precision and consistency. As the medieval period progressed, the advent of paper in the late 15th century revolutionized record-keeping. Prior to this, parchment was the primary medium, and it was both costly and labor-intensive. The introduction of paper allowed for greater volumes of documentation and more accessible record-keeping practices across the tapestry repair industry. Consequently, artisans began to produce more comprehensive documentation, which included not only repair logs but also correspondence with suppliers and clients. In conclusion, the history of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards during the medieval period is characterized by a complex interplay of regional variations, evolving practices, bureaucratic regulations, logistical considerations, and meticulous record-keeping. Each of these aspects offers a glimpse into the intricate world of tapestry artisanship, where even the most mundane details were imbued with significance and reflected the broader cultural currents of the time. As we continue to explore this monotonous yet fascinating history, it becomes evident that the art of tapestry repair was not merely a craft but rather a vital component of the medieval socio-economic fabric. The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. Part 9: Regional Variations and Comparisons. The tapestry repair protocols, alongside the intricate standards for yarn color matching, exhibited significant regional variations across medieval Europe. These differences were informed by local customs, the availability of resources, and the socio-political context of the areas in question. For instance, in the northern regions, such as Scandinavia, the cold climate necessitated the use of more robust fibers, primarily wool from local sheep breeds. The harsh conditions led to the development of specific repair techniques that emphasized durability, often employing a darning method referred to as Nordic knotting, which was renowned for its ability to withstand the rigors of time and use. Conversely, southern regions, particularly in the Mediterranean, favored finer threads, frequently sourced from imported silks and cottons. The warmth of the climate allowed for a more delicate approach to tapestry maintenance. In these areas, the protocols included the practice of twisting, where threads were meticulously intertwined to create a cohesive weave that matched the original fabric's texture. This method required a keen eye for color and texture, as the artisans aimed to replicate the luminosity of the original threads, often employing natural dyes derived from local flora. Furthermore, the guild systems inherent in various regions influenced the standardization of repair protocols and color matching techniques. In Florence, for example, the highly organized Guild of Tapestry Weavers established rigorous standards for color fidelity, resulting in a comprehensive color wheel that cataloged the hues achievable through local dyeing practices. In contrast, the more loosely organized groups in rural France often relied on a more intuitive approach to color matching, leading to a wide variety of interpretations that reflected local artistic sensibilities. Part 10: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards can be traced through the significant cultural and technological shifts that occurred from the early medieval period to the late Gothic era. Initially, during the early medieval period, the repair of tapestries was largely an artisanal endeavor, with each weaver employing personal techniques and materials passed down through generations. Documentation from this period is sparse. However, references to tapestry mending in monastic records suggest that the process was often communal, with monks collaborating to restore ecclesiastical tapestries. As the medieval period progressed into the Renaissance, the rise of individualism and the burgeoning art market led to a more formalized approach to tapestry repair. The establishment of guilds in key cities such as Bruges and Paris resulted in a codification of repair protocols. Artisans began to maintain meticulous records of their repairs and the specific yarns used, leading to an enhanced understanding of color theory and material properties. The late medieval period saw the introduction of synthetic dyes, which revolutionized the landscape of color matching. These new dyes offered a broader palette and greater consistency, allowing artisans to achieve unprecedented accuracy in their repairs. Consequently, the protocols evolved to include more rigorous documentation practices, ensuring that future repairs could replicate the original colors with precision. This period also witnessed the emergence of treatises dedicated to the subject, which, while often dry and technical, laid the groundwork for modern textile conservation practices. Part 11: Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding tapestry repair and yarn color matching was as labyrinthine as the protocols themselves. Various regional parliaments and municipal governments recognized the economic value of the tapestry industry and sought to impose regulations to protect both the artisans and the integrity of the craft. In some cases, these regulations mandated the registration of color formulas and repair techniques with local guilds, creating a quasi-legal framework that ensured a level of quality control. For instance, in 14th-century Flanders, a series of decrees known as the Tapestry Acts outlined specific guidelines for the repair of tapestries sold in the marketplace. Artisans were required to affix a seal indicating the repair history of a tapestry, which included not only the colors used but also the methods of repair employed. Violations of these regulations could result in fines or loss of guild membership, underscoring the importance placed on maintaining high standards in both craftsmanship and ethical practices. Additionally, the influence of the Church cannot be overstated. Ecclesiastical authorities often dictated the repair protocols for tapestries within their domains, insisting on strict adherence to color matching standards that reflected theological significance. For example, certain colors symbolized specific virtues or biblical narratives, and any deviation from established norms could be viewed as heretical. This intersection of art and doctrine necessitated a bureaucratic oversight that would ensure conformity across repairs. Part 12: Supply Chain and Logistics. The supply chain for tapestry repair materials and the logistics of color matching involved a complex interplay of local and regional economies. Artisans relied heavily on a network of suppliers who provided not only raw materials such as wool and silk but also the dyes necessary for color matching. The production of these dyes was often a labor-intensive process, involving the cultivation of specific plants and the careful extraction of pigments, which necessitated coordination between agricultural and textile industries. During the peak of tapestry production in the late medieval period, trade routes became vital arteries for the distribution of materials. The emergence of merchant guilds facilitated the flow of goods across borders, allowing artisans access to a wider array of colors and fibers. For instance, indigo and cochineal, which were imported from far-off lands, became increasingly popular, influencing the palette available for repairs. Artisans often had to navigate a delicate balance between the cost of these materials and the expectations of their clientele, leading to a heightened awareness of supply chain dynamics. Moreover, the logistics of transporting large, often unwieldy tapestries for repair posed its own challenges. Tapestries, once removed from their original settings, were subject to damage during transit. As a result, artisans developed specialized packing techniques involving the use of lightweight, acid-free materials to protect the fabric. This aspect of logistics, while seemingly mundane, exemplified the meticulous attention to detail that characterized the medieval tapestry repair industry. Part 13: Record-Keeping Methods. In an era long before the advent of digital records, the methods of record-keeping employed by tapestry artisans and guilds were both comprehensive and, at times, cumbersome. The primary method of documentation involved the use of parchment or well-prepared paper, where artisans meticulously noted the specifics of each repair undertaken. These records typically included the date of repair, the colors used, the specific techniques employed, and any notable challenges encountered during the process. Guild halls often served as repositories for these records, where scribes meticulously copied the information into large ledgers. These ledgers, sometimes referred to as repair codices, became invaluable resources for future generations of artisans, creating a continuous lineage of knowledge. In some regions, guilds instituted a system of color swatches, where small samples of dyed threads were affixed alongside the notes to provide a visual reference for future repairs. This practice not only facilitated accurate color matching but also served as a form of artistic expression, showcasing the range of hues achievable through local dyeing practices. In addition to the practical aspects of record keeping, there was often a ceremonial element involved in the documentation process. Celebrations of successful repairs or notable restorations were sometimes marked by formal entries in guild records, which would include the names of the artisans involved and the specific tapestries repaired. Such entries served to elevate the status of the artisans, reinforcing their professional identities and ensuring that their contributions were not forgotten. In conclusion, the tedious history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards reveals a rich tapestry of regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and meticulous record-keeping practices. Each of these elements contributes to a deeper understanding of the artistry and labor that underpin this often overlooked facet of medieval craftsmanship. The evolution of these practices, while seemingly mundane, reflects broader cultural and technological shifts that shaped the medieval world, offering a window into the complex interactions between art, commerce, and society during this period. ###The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. ###Part 10, Regional Variations and Comparisons. The study of regional variations in tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards reveals a tapestry, pun intended, woven with the threads of local customs, available materials, and socio-political influences. Across the vast expanse of medieval Europe, from the verdant fields of Flanders to the sun-drenched hills of Tuscany, the methodologies employed in the maintenance of these intricate fabric works were anything but uniform. In the Low Countries, particularly in the burgeoning cities of Bruges and Ghent, tapestry repair was a highly specialized craft. The guilds that governed the practices adhered to stringent standards, primarily dictated by local color dyes derived from indigenous flora. For instance, the use of woad, Isatis tinctoria, a plant cultivated extensively in the region, yielded a reliable blue hue that was favored in many religious and secular tapestries. The guilds established a series of color-matching protocols, which were meticulously documented in guild records. Notably, the Codex of Color Standards, a parchment tome, delineated the precise ratios of woad to other natural dyes to achieve desired shades, thereby ensuring consistency in repairs and restorations. In contrast, the tapestry repair practices in the Italian city-states reflected a different aesthetic sensibility and technical approach. The reliance on vibrant colors derived from cochineal and madder allowed for a broader palette, resulting in a more exuberant visual style. The Florentine workshops, often frequented by patrons of the arts, adopted a less rigid approach to color matching, emphasizing artistic expression over strict adherence to historical accuracy. This regional divergence underscored not only the geographical availability of materials but also the cultural shifts influencing the art of tapestry during the late medieval period. Moreover, the Iberian Peninsula showcased its own unique approaches. Moorish influences permeated the textile arts, leading to intricate geometric patterns that often accompanied the representational imagery found in Christian tapestries. The repair methods in regions such as Catalonia featured a combination of both European and Islamic techniques, with a focus on knotting and weaving methods that retained the structural integrity of the original piece. The cross-pollination of styles and techniques across these regions illustrates the rich tapestry of medieval craftsmanship and the localized adaptations in tapestry repair. Part 11, Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards can be compartmentalized into several distinct periods, each marked by significant advancements in both technology and artistic philosophy. The early medieval period, circa 500–1000 AD, was characterized by rudimentary repair methods. Tapestries from this era often displayed a lack of standardization, repairs were executed haphazardly, with little regard for color matching or the overall aesthetic. Materials utilized were predominantly coarse wool, and the techniques employed were basic, relying heavily on simple stitching. Transitioning into the High Medieval period, circa 1000 to 1300 AD, a notable shift occurred as the demand for tapestries surged due to their use in both domestic and ecclesiastical settings. This period is marked by the establishment of guilds that standardized repair practices, introducing color matching guides based on the extensive trade networks established during the Crusades. The influx of exotic dyes led to more sophisticated matching techniques, as artisans began to develop a more nuanced understanding of color theory, albeit rudimentary by contemporary standards. The late medieval period, circa 1300 to 1500 AD, witnessed the apex of tapestry art and repair. The proliferation of wealthy patrons catalyzed an environment ripe for innovation. The introduction of more complex patterns and designs necessitated rigorous standards for both repairs and color matching. The advent of new dyeing techniques, such as the use of alum mordanting, allowed for brighter and more stable colors. Artisans began documenting their methods more systematically, leading to the creation of treatises that outlined best practices for both dyeing and repair work. This period also saw the rise of regional schools of thought regarding color matching, each contributing to a growing corpus of knowledge that would eventually influence tapestry production and restoration for centuries to come. Part 12 Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards was complex and multifaceted. Various regulations emerged at local, regional, and national levels, often driven by the need to protect trade secrets and maintain quality control within guild systems. In many regions, tapestry repair was subject to the oversight of municipal authorities, who implemented specific laws governing the practice. For example, in the bustling trade cities of Flanders, the city council instituted the Tapestry Quality Act in the early 14th century. This legislation mandated that all tapestry repairs must be conducted by guild members in good standing, ensuring that only qualified artisans engaged in the delicate work of tapestry restoration. The Act also specified that any dye used in repairs must conform to the standards established by the Guild's Color Matching Committee. Penalties for non-compliance included significant fines or even expulsion from the Guild, emphasizing the importance of maintaining high standards in both repair work and color accuracy. In France, the Royal Edict of Tapestry Standards, issued by King Charles V in 1367, further institutionalized the protocols surrounding tapestry repair. This edict required all tapestries intended for royal use to undergo a formal inspection process, which included a thorough evaluation of repairs and an assessment of color fidelity. Inspectors, often skilled artisans themselves, were tasked with ensuring that repairs did not compromise the integrity or aesthetic of the original work. These bureaucratic measures highlighted the intersection of artistry and governance, as royal patronage necessitated a level of oversight that elevated the status of tapestry repair to an art form in its own right. Part 13 Supply Chain and Logistics. The supply chain and logistics of tapestry repair and yarn color matching standards were intricate systems that facilitated the availability of materials and expertise across vast distances. The procurement of dyes, fibers, and tools required a well-orchestrated network of suppliers, artisans, and merchants. Raw wool, typically sourced from local sheep herders, was often traded in bulk, while dye materials were frequently imported from far-off lands. The transport of dyes, particularly those derived from plants or insects, was a highly regulated affair. The journey from source to workshop could involve a complex chain of intermediaries. For instance, the vibrant reds derived from cochineal were primarily sourced from Central America and transported via maritime routes to European ports. Once in Europe, these dyes would be distributed among dye houses, where they would be processed and made available to tapestry artisans. The logistics of securing high-quality dyes necessitated a keen understanding of market fluctuations, seasonal availability, and the intricacies of trade agreements. In addition to raw materials, the tools utilized in tapestry repair were also subject to supply chain dynamics. The production of specialized needles, weaving frames, and other instruments depended on blacksmiths and toolmakers who operated largely within guild systems. The availability of these tools could significantly impact the efficiency and quality of tapestry repair work. Guilds often maintained communal workshops where artisans could share resources and knowledge, ensuring that even smaller workshops had access to the necessary tools to perform high-quality repairs. Part 14, Record-Keeping Methods. The art of record-keeping was paramount in the administration of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. Artisans, guilds, and municipal authorities employed a variety of methods to document their practices, ensuring continuity of knowledge and adherence to established standards. The most common form of record-keeping involved the meticulous maintenance of ledgers, which detailed transactions, materials used, and the specifics of repairs conducted. These ledgers often featured detailed entries, including the date of repair, the name of the artisan responsible, a description of the damage, and a comprehensive list of materials utilized. In some cases, artisans would include visual aids, such as sketches or color swatches, to provide a clear reference for future repairs. This practice was particularly common in areas where multiple artisans worked collaboratively on large tapestry projects, allowing for seamless integration of repairs by different craftsmen. Guilds also played a significant role in the aggregation of knowledge concerning tapestry repair. Annual meetings often included reviews of record books, where members could discuss innovations in techniques and dyeing methods. The establishment of the Tapestry Guild Chronicle in several cities served as a repository of collective experience, with entries reflecting both the triumphs and challenges faced by artisans in their repair endeavors. In addition to ledgers and chronicles, the advent of the printing press in the late 15th century began to influence the dissemination of knowledge surrounding tapestry repair. Manuals and treatises on dyeing and repair techniques were published, serving as instructional guides for artisans throughout Europe. This shift toward a more formalized system of record-keeping and knowledge-sharing laid the groundwork for future advancements in textile conservation and restoration. In conclusion, The History of Tapestry Repair Protocols and Yarn Color Matching Standards is a rich tapestry itself, intertwined with regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, evolving methodologies, and the intricate logistics of supply chains. The meticulous record-keeping practices employed by artisans and guilds reflect a commitment to preserving both the artistry and integrity of these remarkable works, ensuring that the legacy of medieval tapestry continues to be appreciated by future generations. The monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. In the expansive landscape of medieval tapestry artistry, the intricate procedures surrounding tapestry repair and the meticulous standards for yarn color matching stand as a testament to the period's dedication to craftsmanship. This exploration delves into lesser-known facets of this history, including minor historical figures, specific case studies, comparative analyses with other regions, archaeological findings, and plausible primary source quotations that collectively contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of this often overlooked domain. ### Minor historical figures and their roles. Although grand names like William Morris and Jean de La Fontaine often dominate discussions of textile history, numerous lesser-known figures played crucial roles in the development of tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards during the medieval period. Take, for instance, a figure named Isolde of Rouen, a prominent tapestry weaver documented in various guild records from the late 14th century. Isolde was not only known for her intricate designs but also for her pioneering work in establishing repair protocols. In 1397, Isolde presented a treatise to the Rouen Tapestry Guild, which outlined a series of steps for the repair of worn tapestries. This treatise included not only instructions on how to weave new threads into damaged areas but also a detailed system for the classification of yarn colors. She categorized colors based on natural dyes, such as madder for reds and woad for blues, and proposed a color wheel that included gradations of these shades to assist in matching repairs to existing fabric. Another significant yet overlooked figure was Geoffrey of Caen, a minor nobleman turned tapestry enthusiast who lived during the early 15th century. Geoffrey commissioned numerous tapestries for his personal chapel and was known for his obsessive attention to detail. His letters to the weavers, particularly those in Flanders, reflect a deep engagement with color matching. In a letter dated 1423, Geoffrey wrote, "It is not enough to merely find a thread that is red, it must be a red that speaks to the heart of the original, one that whispers of the rose in the garden of our Lord." This level of specificity underscores the rigorous standards that were emerging during this time regarding color fidelity in tapestry repair. Specific case studies with dates. The case study of the Bayeux Tapestry serves as a pivotal example of tapestry repair and color matching standards in action. Originating in the 11th century, the Bayeux Tapestry depicts the events leading up to the Norman conquest of England. By the 12th century, sections of the tapestry had begun to show signs of wear, necessitating repairs. Records from the Abbey of Bayeux indicate that in 1150, a group of skilled artisans was tasked with restoring the tapestry. An interesting note from the restoration records mentions the careful selection of threads, with artisans noting that they could not find the same hue of green as the original. This led them to create a new blend of wool dyed with a mixture of lichen and indigo, resulting in a green that was described as not quite the same, yet pleasingly reminiscent of the verdant fields depicted. This incident illustrates the challenges faced by medieval artisans in maintaining color fidelity during repairs. Another notable case occurred in 1375 with the tapestry known as The Lady and the Unicorn. This exquisite work, housed in the Musée de Cluny in Paris, underwent significant repairs after suffering damage during a storage mishap. Documentation from the time reveals that the tapestry's repair was conducted by a team led by a master weaver named Henri de Bonnet. De Bonnet's meticulous notes indicate a color-matching protocol that involved creating a swatch book from various dye sources, which included plants, insects, and minerals. De Bonnet noted, "To restore the lost glory of the unicorn's horn, we must summon the essence of the natural world, capturing not just the color but the very spirit of the tapestry." This philosophy not only reflects the aesthetic considerations of the time but also highlights the lengths to which artisans would go to ensure that repairs were not only functional but also artistically coherent. ##### Comparative analysis with other regions. While the tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards of medieval Europe are well documented, a comparative analysis reveals that similar practices existed in other regions, albeit with notable variations. In the Middle East, for instance, the art of repairing complex textile works, such as Persian carpets, involved a different set of standards. Persian carpet restoration, particularly during the Safavid era, 1501 to 1736, employed a technique known as knotting, which allowed for the replacement of damaged sections without compromising the overall design integrity. Historical texts, such as The Art of Carpet Weaving, by the Persian scholar Nasir al-Din al-Tusi, offer insights into the color-matching practices of this period. Al-Tusi emphasizes the importance of understanding the language of color, stating, "A carpet is a poem, and each hue is a word. To replace a word is to alter the meaning of the poem." This perspective aligns with the medieval European approach, where color fidelity was paramount to preserving the narrative of the tapestry. In contrast, East Asian textile restoration, particularly in Japan, was grounded in the philosophy of wabi-sabi, which embraces imperfection and the natural cycle of growth and decay. The Japanese approach to repairing kimonos, known as buro, involved patching worn fabrics with pieces of contrasting textiles. While this method diverges significantly from the European standards of color matching, it highlights a cultural difference in the perception of beauty and value in textile repair. As noted in the 16th century text, The Beauty of Impermanence, it states, "The patched fabric tells a story of resilience, where each stitch is a testament to the life lived." Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological excavations across Europe have unearthed various textile remnants that provide invaluable insights into medieval tapestry repair and color matching practices. One notable discovery occurred in the early 20th century at the site of the medieval monastery in Gernrode, Germany. Excavations revealed remnants of a tapestry workshop, complete with dye pits and looms. Analysis of the dye residues found in these pits indicates a sophisticated understanding of color mixing and matching. Samples of woad and madder were recovered, alongside a previously unknown plant believed to have been used for producing a unique shade of yellow. This finding suggests that medieval artisans were not only reliant on traditional dye sources but were also experimenting with new plants to achieve the desired hues. Furthermore, the discovery of a cache of tools, including needle-like instruments used for tapestry repairs, has provided insights into the techniques employed by artisans. The tools were designed with precision, allowing for fine stitching that would ensure that repairs remained inconspicuous. This reflects a cultural emphasis on maintaining the integrity of the original work, demonstrating that even in repair, the artistry of the tapestry was held in high regard. #### primary source quotations, invented but plausible. To further illustrate the meticulous nature of tapestry repair and yarn color matching, a selection of invented yet plausible primary source quotations from the period can provide context and depth. 1. From Isolde of Rouen treatise on tapestry repair, the art of restoration is akin to the art of creation, both demand an eye for detail and a heart for the original vision. A thread mismatched can lead to a discordant narrative. 2. In a correspondence from Geoffrey of Cannes to his tapestry weaver, let the red of my tapestries not fade into the mundane but stand as a beacon, a hue that captures the very essence of the rose that blooms in our garden. 3. From the account of a master weaver during the restoration of the Lady and the Unicorn, to match the colors is to engage in a dialogue with the past. Each strand we weave is a word in the story that must be told anew. 4. An anonymous guild member reflecting on the challenges of color matching. In the world of tapestry, we are but humble servants to the colors of nature. To replicate them is to harness the very spirit of creation. #### conclusion. In summation, the intricate tapestry of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards is woven from the contributions of numerous minor historical figures, significant case studies, and comparative analyses with other regions. The archaeological findings provide a tangible connection to the past, while the invented primary source quotations offer a glimpse into the mindset of those who dedicated their lives to this meticulous art form. The exhaustive detail presented here serves as a reminder that the world of medieval tapestry is not merely a backdrop of historical events but a rich tapestry of its own, filled with stories of resilience, artistry, and an unwavering commitment to preserving beauty across time. As we consider the protocols and standards that govern this craft, we are invited to reflect not only on the tangible creations but also on the philosophies and aspirations that guided the artisans of the medieval world. Thus, as we conclude this exploration, we find ourselves enveloped in a narrative that, while monotonous in its detail, offers an invaluable understanding of a craft that has shaped our cultural heritage in profound ways. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our serene journey through the monotonous history of medieval tapestry repair protocols and yarn color matching standards. It has been a gentle exploration, taking us through the intricate and often overlooked world of textile restoration, where artisans of your meticulously sought to preserve the beauty of their woven narratives, one stitch at a time. As we wandered through the lush landscapes of history, we encountered the delicate art of matching colors, a process that required not just skill, but a deep understanding of the natural dyes derived from plants and minerals. We learned about the painstaking efforts that went into repairing these grand tapestries, each thread woven with purpose, each hue chosen with care. The protocols established during this time were not merely technical guidelines but a reflection of the dedication and passion that artisans poured into their craft, ensuring that the stories told by these magnificent pieces of art would endure through the ages. As our journey comes to a close, let the calmness of this exploration wash over you like a gentle breeze. The rhythmic cadence of our discussion has perhaps lulled your mind into a state of relaxation, inviting you to let go of the day's worries. Each detail we shared serves as a reminder of the beauty found in patience and precision, qualities that are just as valuable in our own lives today. Thank you for joining me in this tranquil exploration of tapestry history. Your presence has made this journey all the more enriching. Remember, if you wish to revisit any part of our soothing discussion, you may play this video again, allowing the soft tones and gentle narratives to cradle you once more into a restful state. As you prepare to drift into your dreams, may the thoughts of colorful threads and the artistry of the past envelop you with warmth and peace. Allow the serenity of this historical tapestry to weave its magic around you, creating a sanctuary for your mind and soul. Wishing you a night filled with gentle dreams, where the echoes of history softly guide you into the embrace of sleep. May your slumber be deep and restorative, and may you awaken refreshed and renewed, ready to embrace the beauty of a new day. Good night, dear listeners, and may the tranquil whispers of the past cradle you into a peaceful sleep.